Never went to preschool, dropped out of high school, not because I wanted to. Never went to preschool, dropped out of high school, not because I wanted to. Yeah, I can't believe that suddenly I'm not with no creation. All I ever did is pass the way this pop my transgressions. Silver and need to build capacity in order for you to receive from God. Most importantly, build capacity. And then the other thing is, you don't receive, the Bible tells us in the book of James that you have not simply because you have not asked, and if you have asked, you have probably asked amiss. Interesting. You have not because you have not asked, and if you did ask, you probably asked amiss, which simply means that if there is a wrong way of asking, there must be a correct way of asking. So how do you get to discover the correct way of asking? You see, one thing you need to understand is that the Bible is very clear. The Bible tells us that God grants us the desires of our hearts. That's what God does. God gives you the desires of your heart. But one interesting thing you need to picture right there is that these desires of your heart should emanate from Him. So what then does it mean? That means you need to seek Him first, seek the kingdom. You need to have a relationship with Him, and then you need to know what is on His mind. And then when you go into the prayer closet to pray, you're not necessarily praying your will, but you're praying His will. You're praying that which He wants for your life. In that particular instance, you definitely get to receive that which you would have prayed for. Why? Because you're not necessarily just praying your mind, but you're praying His will for your life. The secret to receiving from God is when you have prayed His will. You see, the beautiful thing is when you read in the book of Isaiah, the Bible records and it tells us that God watches over His word so as to perform it. You see, when the word comes into the earth, He is going to watch over it. And that is the very same thing. You have to be very attentive, very, very, very much listening to figure out what exactly is God saying. And when you hear God saying something, you say the very same thing. Why? Simply because that's the only way you are going to receive that which you would have prayed for. How to receive when you pray. You see, you don't necessarily need to pray your own mind or to pray your thoughts and pray what you want and what you are thinking. No, just be smart. Be smart. Pray what is in the Word of God. You need to know what God is saying because God is obligated to His Word. And see, God has exalted His Word above His name. The thing that matters the most to God, the only thing that God is going to be paying attention to is His Word. In other words, if you go to God in prayer in emotions, and the only thing that you're doing is you're crying in His presence, I'm so sorry to tell you this. God is not going to necessarily answer your prayer because you cried. And I know there's certain people when they were little babies, when they're just giving their lives to Christ. You remember when you give your life to Jesus Christ, you're considered a baby. So you used to cry, you used to work, you used to have emotions, and emotions used to work for you. But now you have come to a place where even if you cry in the presence of God, there is no response. It looks like the same God that used to hear you when you cried in the times past is not hearing you anymore. Why? Simply because He's expecting you to have grown by now to understand that He is not moved by emotions. God is not moved by emotions. He is only moved by His Word. The secret to receiving from God is when you pray His Word. And definitely you only get to do that when you have built capacity. When you have built capacity, when you get to know exactly who you are in God and what are the things that He wants you to do on planet Earth. And as you speak as an oracle. You speak as though it is God Himself that is speaking. As you declare things, you don't declare them as you, but you declare things as He Himself that is declaring things. I can tell you for a fact as a testimony in closure to this particular message that I standing here right now at this particular time,